Test, 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 test. Yeah, this is good. I'll put this guy right here. He said, do I have room for coffee? Absolutely, always got room for coffee. It says, your front door camera went offline. I'm over this shit. Oh, you're like really gonna serve this right now? Okay.
Oh.
Here.
For me to wait?
Oh, no, I don't mind. We could do this. We can absolutely do this now. Tucker, you don't have to be the center, sir. Right here. Come on. Hey. He's probably going to try and sneak up right next to you, if you don't mind that.
That's fine.
It's yours. He's like looking for a way in. Just go. Oh, like, do your thing somewhere else, please. There you go. That's a good job. Right there. Lazily on top like a cat.
Literally.
No, I think he was raised with cats. It's quite an interesting experience when you adopt a dog. They come pre-packaged. It's like getting a computer with like software you didn't ask for.
Yeah.
Well, what you bring here, sir? Well, welcome to my house. This is Victor. Victor is invited because Victor's a creative, and not only is he a creative, he lives like up the street from me. So
I walked here. Cheers.
Cheers.
Comes dark at first, but it brightens.
That's good. Also, Victor, I always start this by asking a question first. You can answer it now, but you can answer it later. But I'll let you like digest on it. And I think I've asked you this question before.
Okay, my answer might be different.
It might be. I just posted a video about some girl having a different answer like 2 months in between. But what are your last words?
Just ever. If I intend to have last words, what would that be? Is that what you're asking?
I'm asking you, what are your last words? That's why you can ruminate and let it sit for a minute. You don't have to answer it now. We can do an intro.
Let's start with this. My last words at this very second. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
That's good. Who are you, Victor?
I am Victor. Before I got into the things that were practically understood, a lot of the things that I would put my name by would be Thyhuman, because I wanted all my work to be understood as what it was from a human being to another human being. But now it's just Victor. Yeah.
I like that. That's a good answer. My name is Aaron. Same. After probably like 8 different Instagram names and profiles and whatnot. So that's
AKA
a good answer.
Mr. Just Cuz.
Oh, I know. Sometimes you gotta bury some names because it just wasn't. It was for a season.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Can't have oranges every season. Can't have avocados every season.
Yeah.
Good.
Let that soil fertilize.
Right. And what is Victor doing these days? Like specifically, what are his hands being immersed in?
I'm gonna try to keep it.
You can answer however you need to answer.
Okay.
This is your forum.
Permitted by Aaron.
Right. This is your canvas.
Right now, what I am doing is, well, the work I'm doing is an effort to break down commodity, the idea of this commodified lifestyle, the idea of consuming and not being present. What most people know me by is someone that facilitates a Coffee Omakase. If you ever heard that around in LA, it oftentimes tracks back to my work. But before that, after that, in it, it's a design of life. Everything I do, everything I wear, the only conversations I end up having at the end of the day is simply about being able to be here, being allowed to be here as well, allowing today to be an occasion. Well, oftentimes we forget that, we've worked so hard to be here, or we've been granted the chance to wake up. And because we forget that, all this hustle bustle, all of this, things are supposed to be that way. Well, one thing's for sure, we're not supposed to have today. I'm 30 years old. This is considered old for like back in civilization.
Even though you could have 2 more sets of 30 after that.
Yeah.
That's crazy, right?
A lot of the work I do is to preach the fact that we get to be here. And that comes through not just the point of this Coffee Omakase was to slow down the way we engage with this ritual of interacting with commodities, coffee, for example. Like, if we're going to be waking up to a utility every single day just to get us through the morning, it's like, well, why should you have a morning if you're just trying to get through it? I mean, if the goal is to go from A to B, just start at B and end there. But I feel like, and the purpose of the omakase is to, give us that champagne moment in the ritual. I mean, when you think of a ritual to get yourself through the morning, you think of, okay, I got to get through it, right? But I'd like to believe that a ritual is more of a ceremony. And what we're really doing, hopefully, is this ritual of having coffee is like doing a champagne toast. Like, it's the act of embracing the fact that we get to have that morning. That's not what gets us through the morning. That's how we celebrate the morning. And then maybe we can go on to that next task. And if it's going to be a shitty day at work, then it's going to be a not so shitty day at work. Because guess what? You got to have today, and you celebrated that. Your next moment shouldn't be downhill from there. It should only be uphill, because it's just one more medium of celebrating today. But if you don't like it, just change what you're doing, maybe, hopefully. And a lot of what I do is not only in coffee, it's through the furniture I design with. When people come in and then simply engage with a different atmosphere, not only in the furniture, but also in the clothes. You don't see me walking around not wearing the things that I've sewn. It's obsessive, maybe. I'm obsessed with life. I'm obsessed with the stuff that I do. I love it. I celebrate it. And if you don't, then, well, try, or sorry. But I think we could use a lot more people that celebrate the fact that they're here. Celebrate the fact that you are here. Not rummaging for some excuse to dread today.
Right, you're going to start the day dreading. That's crazy.
But, yeah, and that's why you were seeing me wearing something that looks like an inside out rag. But ultimately, I created this to, be formal attire. I created what I'm wearing to celebrate today as a formality. It might look like rags to you, but it's, to the knit bone to it, it's a sweatpants and a sweatshirt. Right? When we do things for ourselves, we don't often think, let's dress up for ourselves. So I wanted to change that image through the things that I sew, the furniture I build, the genuine ritual engagement we have with everyday commodities like coffee. That's what I do. That's what I do.
Yeah, I like that. The moment we were talking about like furniture and space, and I had like 2 questions only queued up in my brain from this morning when I woke up. I didn't wake up like, oh my God, I woke up like, what are the right questions to ask? What I was going to ask you is, which I'll ask the latter first, is what does it mean to you to make, to create a welcoming space?
To create a welcoming space.
Or let's do this. What does it even mean to...
That's a simple enough question.
Right.
Let's work with that. To create a welcoming space means to take off your shoes. Outside is outside, inside is inside. There needs to be some way of physically understanding that. Because if you're caught up in the in-betweens, whatever you were doing last might follow you for a little bit too long. Why is that? Moments are meant to be mortal. The idea of experiencing something should be an experience that is also mortal. Everything needs a start and end.
Right.
And the only way we're going to be able to experience something new in life is if we let something end. The moment we're outside to come inside. Specifically for the space that I create, I have people take off their shoes. So this Coffee Omakase that I serve, yes, there are house rules to it because it's a literal house that I get to host this out of. Shoes come off, but what you do put on is house slippers. And these are something that I wanted to create to give you that alternative environment that you would enter in. The only way I could actually, because of the complexity of my work, because it takes patience, because it takes time, and a little bit of vulnerability on the client's end, it requires the clientele to be in a different state. So we take our shoes off, we come to a different environment. We're wearing house slippers or hotel slippers. And, that's where things kind of begin. Again, it's just a coffee omakase, it's just a coffee experience, it's 2 hours of your time. But then it's not, because by the things we perceive price point wise, it already psychologically feels like something different. But to make sure that we're all in the same state of mind, there's this transition required from when we arrive. That transition is where we kind of disarm ourselves a little bit, shoes off, slippers on. It feels a little bit unnecessary. It feels like, why are we going through this why are we engaging with this in a resort type of fashion, a resort type of feeling? Well, when you think of a resort, when you think of things that you tend to as an experience that you've been working so hard to have, that was the goal, is to create that, disarmament, where you're finally letting yourselves relax the shoulders. You don't necessarily know what you're going to anticipate, but all you know is that you are somewhere else. And then the most important part can happen inside this coffee experience, the dialogue. If I couldn't create, there is no point in this service of what I do if we do not allow there to be dialogue. Life itself is meaningless enough. What makes it fun is that we get to add context to it.
I highly agree with that. 1,000%. I think we echo each other in terms of the removing of the shoe aspect, minus maybe the cultural context of.
There is cultural context. I can't deny that. I can't deny that. But
I think that's one of the most. When you said about being vulnerable, I think that's a lot of truth there, because the reality is, like, you do have to disarm yourself and dismantle whatever you are bringing from the outside in.
Yeah.
And I think the aspect of there being dialogue, it does create the welcoming energy that's there. I mean, people have to literally talk to each other too. I even like the way that you set up the seats in that to me, it reminds me of like when you're sharing a dining table with random people, because you have to. Like, I mean, if you want to sit, you have to, in certain dining aspects. But I think in that space that you created, it does force dialogue amongst each other as you're hosting it, which is pretty cool. And I
Yeah.
would say that is an element of it being welcoming. It kind of reminds me in the seating in this space that I do force people to communicate, especially since there's no TV. Like, I know we're doing things differently. However, like, in order to force people into conversation and into dialogue once they're vulnerable is a very fruitful experience.
Yeah. I don't think it's just fruitful. I think it's necessary for the fruits.
I mean, there's little fruit in that experience.
Exactly. I hate to be as complex as it is. And I don't hate it for myself. I hate it for those that don't care for anything more. Not that they don't care for anything more. My biggest dislike is for those that have so much to look forward to
Right.
and get it without just embracing the final act of receiving it
Right.
and moving on to the next thing. We don't live life for quantity.
Right.
But, and even if we do, a lot of this idea of what makes quantity so amazing is the idea that quantity, if we let it be received by us in a way that we allow ourselves to reflect on it, quantity with reflection, only then can we find how much quality, not how much quality, but only then can we discover qualities in it. Like meeting person to person. You can have had 100 conversations, and the verbiage, the context, the dialogue, the things you learn, these questions could all be the absolute same. And it could be absolutely meaningless. But it can also not be meaningless and be very meaningful if you allow yourself to reflect on the previous conversation.
Right.
So that's kind of why it's necessary that for this Coffee Omakase that I've created to not be only interpreted in a conference style where you have wine and you're serving individuals next to each other down this line. In the hospitality industry, when you're doing fine dining, even if you're engaging in like Michelin dining experiences, it's the creator offering the interpreter an experience. But the issue is that we're only allowing ourselves to interpret something that we've never interpreted before from our own perspective. And the issue in that is that our perspective is very limited. It's limited to our own experiences. So what I do inside this Coffee Omakase is that I have people sitting across from each other. And what happens in this is, the experiences that are kind of vocalized across from the individual, from these strangers, they end up being transmitted across. Now, not everyone's going to agree with each other when it comes to interpreting a sensory experience. Because again, we've always, what tastes as sour as maybe a grapefruit, to me, I think that would be more bitter than sour. None of us are wrong, but some of us have a different way of interpreting that. So that goes to bring us to experiencing something and vocalizing about it in a very different way. Maybe what we're tasting isn't that characteristic. Maybe it's something deeper. But you wouldn't have been able to reach that depth if you didn't share that with this stranger in front of you.
Right.
When you're interpreting something, the experience is only going to be as good as you allow it. but it's also as bad as you think it is too. So is life. The only way it's going to get better is if you allow yourself to pursue alternative perspectives. That's the only reason, not the only reason why. I hope you don't mind and get even deeper on this.
Oh, you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
Remember, canvas.
This is the reason why we choose to allow others to engage with us. Now, this experience, along with the idea of creating this picture of the namesake of this whole project that I created, Tangible Gratitude, a lot of this was me learning what it meant to be here, what it meant to be a consumer, what it meant to be as someone with rituals, what it means to want to do one more thing, have one more day, want to have that one more plate. Now, a lot of this attributes to kind of this philosophy that I thought I've resonated with. There is Descartes. I think, therefore I am. And only then, when you realize that, you can embrace the things that are around you, because you're perceiving things. You are the person that's perceiving these things, engaging with these tangibles around you. You're feeling, you're breathing, you're smelling. You are here as an interpreter. But the issue in that is that the remark, I think, therefore I am, the moment I say that, that's past tense. So now it officially becomes, I thought, therefore I was.
Right.
Now, in order to be this person, to continuously, find yourself truly embracing the things around you, it must be a constant act. It must be a constant, action of I think, therefore I am. I am thinking, therefore I am ing. I am being. But one of the biggest flaws in that is that, yes, you're thinking, you are being, but the biggest flaw in that, in my opinion, is that that's great if what you want to experience should stay static in what you're pursuing, should stay stable. But know that life itself is never stable. There's no program, there's no constant that will forever be here, aside from the fact that we're all going to die, aside from the fact that leaves dry up and get crunchy when it falls down. So the only way you're going to be able to grow as an individual and continue to be here, continue to pursue life as this changing thing, your perspective also needs to change. So this idea of I think, therefore I am is no longer valid in being able to really embrace the fact that you are here.
Right.
This new time, this new moment. And the idea of the reason for being here, the reason for continuing this process of allowing yourself to exist, a lot of that's going to attribute to the fact that there's a possible chance that you can have a new perspective.
Right.
The only way you're going to be able to reach the possible chance that you're going to have a new perspective is if you have another perspective in the room.
Right.
So with that said, conversation with yourself no longer. Hey, you can have all the conversations with yourself, but you're going to loop back to the first question that began this conversation.
Unless you're schizo.
Yeah.
Well, while you were saying this, I was thinking about my least favorite word is expectation. Like, one of my least favorite words is expectation, because it's kind of like when I receive a review in this process of hosting people, and someone says, or it takes them about 48 hours. That's what I usually find out. It's like within 48 hours, their expectations have been dismantled. They're like, it could even take 2 hours. It just depends on how much frequency I give them in terms of conversation and whatnot. But that's my least favorite word, because there are people who have boxed themselves into expectations, and so therefore they are that thing because they put themselves in that little box, and so they don't know how to like allow new perspective in unless it's overwhelming for them, and then they're challenged to break out.
See, that's why I have people take off their shoes and wear some hotel slippers to get into the house. Nobody expects that.
Right.
Especially when you're just coming to drink coffee. It's...
Which I feel really good at the end of that experience. I'm so buzzed. I don't even know if my feet are sweating. I can't think about it. It's just, I think the last one I did, I left and I was like, wow, I'm elated. I'm absolutely like shaking to the point that I thought I was going to enter an SAT exam, which I was like, whatever. Now I have to overcome this mountain. But it gets me into the thought of like, what does it mean for you to do the right thing?
I hope that those that do allow themselves to have this experience with me in allowing me to host for this Coffee Omakase, this alternative experience, allows them to leave with the feeling of I hate the fact that it is so tied to caffeine affecting the biology, the physicality of the individual, but in my deepest hope is that everyone that comes in, they leave with their shoulders down, relaxed, and with the will to want to smell whatever comes their way. Open arms, feel, hear, be, and live openly. I get it, it's just coffee, but also it's not. I get it, when you wake up, you're just waking up. You're just putting on some clothes. You're just doing something. But it's not. Nothing is just the way it is.
Right.
It's all a luxury. It's all a luxury. We were granted yesterday.
Yeah.
We had the opportunity to do what we needed to do.
Right.
Today, we were granted this too. But my goal is to hopefully translate that. So this idea of disarmament, it's so required because we're taught to have this sword and shield, play offense, play defense.
Right.
In life, and also more on the defensive side. And
oof.
Not only how you engage with others and the social aspect, stranger on the street, but also in your mind as well. Like, this idea of, oh, it's just another day, but I have to fight for what I have. I'm not telling you not to fight for what you have.
Right.
I'm not telling you to not secure the things that you have that make you who you are today. What I'm telling you is, in this fight to earn every day, and I say earn because it's very important. Today was nobody's obligation to hand to us. So in order to be grateful, we have to embrace the fact that we got to have the opportunity to have today. We're fighting to earn this gift. You don't need to. The fight comes in different ways. It can come in ways where you have your morning's protein. You fill up your cup with water, if you have the privilege to do so, and drinking that just to make sure you're staying hydrated. Fight comes in different forms, but for me, it comes through just spreading that awareness of it. If I get to be here today, and if I get to live and breathe what I have because of what I do, the only way I can have more in terms of what I can embrace, I have to service that more in a deeper level, in a more scalable level. Yeah. I feel like I trailed off.
No. I'm just the whole time you were saying that, I was thinking of a river, and it kind of just flows. It's ultimately going to get to the ocean or the largest body of water that it's trailing to. But throughout its journey, it's either becoming larger, smaller. There's blockage. It has to go over certain things. It's probably being filtered through elements. It's kind of like this other guy that I really want to sit down and have a conversation with. He and I were talking about, like, what does it mean to be in this space of, like, doing alchemy? And we're not talking from the aspect of, like in The Alchemist,
literally making gold from other elements.
Right. I think that alchemy is we can say the gold or the preciousness of it is whatever that activity is, So the whole time I was thinking about literal flow. Yeah. Because it does flow from beginning to end. From the moment you stop to, like, remove, to immerse, to begin, to end, it all is one flow through. It's like when you come here, the door's open. It's never going to be locked. God forbid somebody finds out where I live. I mean, there's nothing worth stealing here. So, it's like, yeah, it just flows. And then it also gets me thinking about, this is a controversial topic sometimes. I genuinely believe that not everyone is supposed to have access to certain things. And I genuinely believe that because there are some people that are not ready for it. It's like they might never be ready, or they might be overly anxious. And maybe anxious is not the right word, but they're overly like, oh yeah, I'm ready. But it's like they're not. But I'm a person. I'm a purist, if that makes sense. I kind of think that certain things should be and shouldn't be. It's like when you're playing Zelda, it's like you might get the special weapon that you ended up going through all the puzzles and mazes to do to get it, and some people don't get it because they just are not willing to put in the time and effort to go through that process. Same thing with alchemy. It's like not everyone's going to make gold. There's fool's gold out there for a reason.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with that. I don't think that's controversial. Yeah,
it's kind of like we don't have to execute the personas in it, but it's like what I shared with you about the first experience you had about that kind of friction when it's kind of like I openly told you, like, I don't think everyone should have access to it, It's like,
yeah.
For me, I had, and I didn't even know this, personal story real quick, I had some guests stay here that I guess have been here 4 times. I didn't even remember.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I didn't remember. And they were like, yeah, we were here in 2018, 2019, 2021, and now. And I was like, huh? I don't remember those times. But I think it's because the frequency, there was just so many people staying here and we didn't restrict access to anyone. Where now I'm like ultra restrictive only because for me, the quality of sharing things, especially in this intimate space, I found to be best suited for 3 and 5. Now, the only way that 5 would happen is if I had, like, it gives me the space to invite others, like randoms, into the space with 2 guests, and now there's 5 of us. Whereas before it was like two guests, me and my girlfriend, my roommate, like it was just too much, you know? And so they had messaged me and said, oh, like, can me and my girlfriend stay? I noticed that I can't book it with another person. I was like, well, I don't host couples anymore. I just straight up told them. And they were like, well, we stayed here before. I said, what? So I went on their profile. I clicked on their profile and I went through their like reviews and I was like, oh, shoot, they did. 2 years ago, they stayed when my roommate was here hosting with me. And then I looked even further and I was like, oh, they were here in the beginning, like when we first started. And I was like, so I didn't restrict them access, gave them access, didn't upcharge them or whatever. And it's so funny because I journaled about it. I was like, it's a little bit overwhelming to host couples because it's a little trivial in that there's just more work, you know, because they move in units. So everything they do is compounded. Yeah. But then when they left and I saw them on the camera, they were so like cutesy. They kind of like, they saw the camera there and they did a pose. And I woke up and I got a notification on my phone. I just opened it and I said, you know, it wasn't that bad. And I saw those and I posted about them on my story.
This morning. No?
Or, the other morning. Yesterday morning, They essentially, like, changed my thought a little bit. Because I was like, maybe I am a little bit too restrictive. And I can give certain people access who are ready for that. Now, granted, they've been here before, so they were ready. And then when they were here, I was like, oh, I do remember. Because their rhythm was the same. Like, they only came here, went to go watch some fireworks, go grab some drinks, came back sunburnt. Last time they were here, they were like lobsters too. And I'm like, oh, okay, I do remember them. So I am learning to lower the wall for some to come through, and others, like, it just won't happen. Like, you know, some guy telling me that he's going to come here with all his cousins, and there's a lot of couches here, so they can sleep on the couches. I was like, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's... You would consider yourself an introvert?
I had a customer tell me that I was he would analyze handwriting. He was a psychotherapist. And then I guess he was watching me or something like that. And he came up to me. He's like, so I was like just managing the business. He's like, you don't really like this, do you? My neck broke. I was like, huh? He's like, you don't really like this, huh? And I was like, what makes you say that? I do, but like sometimes I feel overwhelmed. He's like, you're an introvert. Why are you doing this? It's just killing your spirit. And I was like, oh my God. Wow. He's like, you're a extroverted introvert, meaning you have so much to give, and once that like battery starts running out, you gotta go hide for a while. And I was like, yeah, I do. So then I gave him a journal of mine. I said, what are you going to analyze? He opened up the first page and he's like, oh, you got a lot of rough handwriting. You're stressed? And I was like, oh my God, like what the heck? Wow. So yeah, I am introverted, and it comes as a result of, I literally journaled this the other day. I said, I'm returning to the days where, and I recorded like 2 monologues about this, where it's essentially, as a kid, I used to lock myself in the room and avoid the chaos of the house, and just like Legos were my favorite toys. It's like I could build whatever, I could make whatever, I can create whatever. Someone would give me a new Lego set, and I wouldn't even like look at the instructions. I'd throw it away and use those to build on my world that I was already building. But I think it's also, it reminds me of a super soaker. You have all that water in there. You're going to pump. I'm not going to shoot all the way right away. I'm going to wait until I pump. And the pressure, like, you can feel it. Mm-hmm. We can't push it anymore, and it starts to push out. And I'm like, hell yeah, I got that one shot ready. And I'll just get them. So, yeah, I'm definitely an introvert. Okay. Would you consider yourself an introvert or extrovert?
Introvert, 100%. Yeah. It's odd because this thing that I do, like you, welcome people to my own home. And the context of what I do is meant for others, not for my own personal creativity whatsoever. When you think about it, you have what you have because of this idea of commerce. you, let's say, you host someone, they stay over, there's this quality time had. That's the reason why we have food on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's say you're going to a coffee shop and you're paying whatever amount of dollars to get the coffee you have. That's the reason why they have food on the table. We don't have anything that we have because we keep to ourselves.
Right.
And in order to fully appreciate the extent of that fact, you can't close your doors. The idea of closing your doors, literally,
Right.
figuratively for most, but literally for us, the idea of closing our doors and locking that, the act of that only happens temporarily. Because, food needs to be had. The ability to have this roof over our head also needs to be had. We owe others as much as others owe us.
Right.
We have what we have because of others, and others have what they have because of us. The reason why we do what we do, the reason why we speak, the reason why we share perspectives is simply to gain. It sounds transactional, but it's to gain perspective. Again, I think, therefore I am, but I think because, I think, but I can only think as far as I can think.
No, that's absolutely true, because literally, there's let's call this like a 3-layer cake real quick. First things first is, a lot of people don't understand. It's like, example A, I'm going to be a little bit religious, but it's okay. Literally, Jesus taught to serve. And as a result of serving, you gain all the riches in heaven, essentially, as a result of giving your all. You will receive that later in life. That is, to me, what you're talking about in terms of we give so much to gain perspective. And I think that is the richness in life. Because as others are closing their doors or restricting themselves, they're not actually growing anymore. I had a guest stay here. She was talking about like Saturn's return and all this stuff. Essentially, she was talking about is people have decisions that they make at the age of 27. They can either continue to be however they were and they will never grow, or they can like flip the coin and from 27 on to whatever point that they make it is gruesome and jarring because they're just pushing to like continue to have that breakthrough. Then it gets me into the actual space that I'm in, which is, someone asked me the other day, they were like, oh, what happened to all the money you had from Apple? And I was like, and I was reflecting on it when I was walking Tucker this morning. I was like, I used all that money. I used it in what people see when they're here. I remember all the like dinners that I hosted, all the bottles of wine that I bought to make sure that that person who was here gaining like what they thought was a cheap stay, which ultimately was probably the best experience they ever had. Like I just recorded a video about me discussing how I've been hosting for 8 years, and like in that blue book over there is like some of the richest moments because I gave all of what I made to them, essentially. And that was like, when I think about my motorcycle accident, that was great. Like if I would have been gone in that moment, I mean, granted, I want more life. Everybody wants more life, but the reality of it is I did give everything that I could, and I continue to do so. And I remember sitting at the dinner table like weeks after, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? And then I remember like literally hearing this voice like penetrate all my awareness and being like, and this is what I assumed to be the voice of God. It was like, I gave you all that money, everything that you've saved up for, continue to use it. Like, that's why it's there. It's not there to like, saw this one girl doing, I think it's called the PCT trail, which is the Pacific Crest Trail. So she's going from all the way north to all the way south. Okay. And she literally posted, I saved everything that I had in my corporate gig for 2 years to do this thing, to like show you all this story of like that anyone could do it. So she's like throwing all her money at that. And she and I had a conversation last night, and she said, if I didn't like save at that time to do this, like no one would have access to these stories. And I was like, damn, that's an interesting perspective. So at the end of the day, it's like, I 1,000% agree with you. And although it might be perceived as selfish, it's really not actually selfless, because we're not doing what others are willing to do. No one really is going to be opening up their home to like share and whatnot. And it's funny because I had a dream this morning. It's like the last 30 minutes of my waking, the dream is rich. And in the dream, I had a coffee shop, and it was in Puerto Rico. And for some reason, I don't know why, but everybody was there like exchanging things, like information. I was like, what the heck? And I'm just standing there taking it all, like, of everything that was happening. And I was like, and I woke up and I was like, wow, that was crazy. Like, why were all these people here? What were they all doing? Why were all of us exchanging information and I observing that? But the essence of that is me realizing that one day this will grow into something bigger. Not saying that bigger means, like, it's not the word of success. Bigger meaning more people can have access to it. You know what I'm saying? So then we remove the purest idea, because then we're so established that it doesn't matter who comes in, because no matter what, it's like foundational. It's like structured. It's sound. It's standing there. You know, it's kind of like what's interesting, the space that I told you about, that it's available. They are struggling to find someone to lease that space out. They even put some raggedy sign, like one of those new management signs. They put one of those big signs out there saying for lease, like commercial space. Like they really are struggling to get someone in there.
Seems like it's for a reason.
Oh, I mean, just wait. You know, then that's when you could get the discount. If that's what it's supposed to be. You never know.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when I think about what you're doing, like let's just use that space as like a canvas. I see that space. It has that garage door. To me, right, the disruptive thing, because I'm always into disrupting spaces. Like, genuinely speaking, I finally had a conversation with a neighbor of mine across the street who's this great artist. Like, him and his wife are writers and all this stuff, and they had like trinkets outside and really nice like statues. And I just was like, I wanted to grab all of them. And I said, I don't have anything to give, because they had like a little donation thing for their son. I said, hey, do you have a Venmo? Like, can I Venmo? He's like, no, don't worry about it. He's like, I saw you yesterday grab the plates. And I said, I know, but like, I feel like I'm taking too much. He's like, no, that's what it's here for you to take. I was like, so I just gave him access to me. I said, I'm Aaron. I live across the street. I've been here for 9 years. Like, you know, this is what's happening. And we were just like shooting the shit for a moment. But I think about those moments because they really provide, right? And that space to me is so niche, because what I would see is that garage opened up, people walking by, like, you know how our neighbors are. Everyone in this neighborhood is the same. They don't ask or say anything. They just look over their sunglasses looking. But I think that would be so powerful for people to see, like, chilling, coffee, and then they're like, well, how do I... Well, you have to reserve online. And if you'd like to reserve online, here's this QR code. And then they find out, oh my God, it takes forever to get in. But it's like, that's actually kind of cool, because those who get it are willing to wait. It kind of reminds me when an iPhone used to have months of waiting before you can finally get it. And I actually value those days more than everybody having the newest thing right away. Because what it taught you was those who really cared waited. And sometimes the best things in life are worth waiting for. You know what I mean? And
some figure out that they didn't want it in the first place.
Right.
Which it becomes evident.
Right. Well, and perfect example. And I don't know if I told you this story about that burger shop in Seattle I went to that really like revolutionized like how I want to like move into the next chapter of all of this. I went to grab a burger and I'm like, oh, $4.45, like, you know, that's cheap. And then the next burger's like $6.25 and it just has an avocado, extra onions, whatever. I was like, hey, can I get number 2 with number 3's things? And they were like, no. And I felt insulted. How dare you tell me no as the customer? And they're like, if you want number 3, you get number 3. If you want number 2, you want number 2. If you want both, get both. And I'm like, but then I realized, I was like, who the hell am I as the customer to come up to this storefront and say, I want it my way? That's not true. That's absolutely not true. And the next chapter and what I provide is going to be that way. Like, you will not be able to tell me, oh, I want it this way. I add this or whatever. It kind of reminds me when you guys used to do coffee at that other place. And I appreciated sitting there and listening because, no, we don't have any vanilla. No, we don't have anything to make it sweet the way you want. But this is what I can do in order to kind of ease your inability to take in what we have to offer. You know, and I genuinely value that more because then it will wean out who should be here and who shouldn't be here. There's a lot of options out there. Go to the next thing, you know? Like, I went to Offset, actually, yesterday. And I had, like, whatever, some horchata quad shot I added. Yeah. And me and the guy were chatting outside, and he's like, isn't it crazy that this place has now become cheaper than Starbucks? And I was like, I had to think for a moment. I was like, you're not wrong. And then I said, and the coffee's better, isn't it? And he's like, yeah, I can actually taste what this coffee is supposed to be. And I said, he gets it. Yeah. He gets it. But, you know, how's anyone going to learn that if they can't desensitize, like, what they've grown to say, this is what it's supposed to be like? I hate when people are like, it's not salty enough. And I'm like, ugh. You can't taste all the elements of the food. Why do you want it saltier? Ugh. You know, it's like, ugh, what are we talking about? Like, people who go to the coffee experience and they're like, it's not what I expected. It's like, well, what were you expecting? And I like that when you have that moment of silence for us to, like, ask each other. And granted, that's all based off the people in the room. But the last time I was there, we all asked each other, like, how we actually partake in the coffee. I think that's super important because I find myself to be someone who, I mean, this is probably the 12th round of coffee that I'm having.
Oh, man.
I know. What time is it? It's barely like 2. Had 8 cups of coffee this morning. Literally. And I enjoy that because it's like I can go through the whole diaspora of coffee. I love the mocktail. I love the sugary shit too, but I won't have it all the time, you know, because it takes away. But I want to know. It's like your post the other day. You said how you were restrictive in that you didn't want to collaborate or like maybe share those collaborations openly, whereas now you're like interpreting that as, well, I am going to actually share more openly now what the collaboration looks like or where this comes from because it's important to tell that story. And I think being where we're at, just geography wise, like that is important. I like that pivot because eventually, and I don't know if that's ever in your boat of things, but as someone who values what you give, I can see a niche, maybe high end, and high end because there's value in the way that it's consumed, being that you end up like, you might be a farmer one day, you never even know that. Anything's plausible.
We'll see. But a lot of the work that I am intending to do is show people things that they've already have. And if I were to create something wholly from the backyard of wherever it is I am, in the logistics of executing something like this, it would taint the intentionality of the experience. The goal was to, not was, is, the goal is to eliminate this idea that we have bias for the things that we appreciate. And this bias is a very walls up mentality, very defensive mentality. It's a very entitled to, you know exactly what you like and it's forever going to be that way. So if you were to get exactly that and have a life stock of that for the rest of your life, you'll be 100% happy. Chances are you're not, because that shit's going to get old real fast.
Right.
You're not wrong for now. So that's why I'm refusing to have any sort of constant be present in this situation. The only constant is that you're going to be taking your shoes off, and I made some hotel slippers for you to keep. The constant is that you're going to be sitting down in my seats in front of someone you've never met. Next to your significant other, or partner, or your plus one, or whoever it is you want to choose, or next to the group of 4 that you happen to chance upon tickets on. But know that there's going to be someone else in that room that does not know you and you don't know them. And this is where the greatest opportunity gets to happen in the experience.
Right.
You get to not just see something your way, not just interpret life through your own shoes. To see life from your own shoes, that's a gift. But to see life from someone else's shoes, that's a luxury. Real luxuries from today is allowing one more thing to happen. Is embracing the fact that we get to have one more day. You're not embracing the fact that you get to have one more day if you're just constantly trying to replay yesterday. Replay the comfort of your own perspective yesterday.
Why did you say the word comfort? Oh, dang.
Going back to the introvert topic. Yes, I resonate with you a lot. To go into that a little bit further. Being extrovert, I really hate the fact that we have to insist on titles to label our personalities. It's very constricting. Why can't we just live and act and just be and allow our conversation to display who we are? Allow our intentions that are acted upon be the defining factor of who we are, instead of having these words. It's like saying my favorite color is blue before having lived life. Is your favorite color really blue today? It's like saying your favorite flavor of pie is strawberry. You haven't even lived long enough to taste what peach pie is like, or apple pie. How can you say that peach pie is your favorite? It's the whole point in meeting one more person is allowing one more day to happen. You can't just stay in your own shell. You can for like 99% of the time, but there's that 1% necessary to act on. There's going to be nothing new in life. Granted, some people are very happy with that, and that's totally cool too. You can play the same game on your PlayStation for life if you'd like to. You're going to beat that over and over again, and the excitement's going to be like a constant. It's going to be stability, but is it really going to stay constant? The appreciation for that. So you're going to look for one more game. So is the way you look at life. So is the way you look outside. It's not metaphorical. It's so literal. Like I want to be as emotionally expressive as possible without using like aggressive words.
Right.
But like I kind of have to. Like, it's so... It's universal. It's fucking literal. It's not metaphorical. It's not conceptual. It's not abstract. It's life. It's to have one more day, to embrace a new day, is to let something new happen.
Right.
Society, as a participant of society, you get to observe what others are pursuing as well. What pisses me off is that all we're pursuing is how many luxuries can we have and how many luxury experiences can we have experienced. But if you're worried about the number, you're not worried about actually experiencing why they're in place in the first place. There's no way in embracing that alternative perspective that gave you what you were looking for. And if you're not going to allow yourself to perceive why you're looking for this thing that you're in pursuit of, you're not going to realize what it is you're actually pursuing, even if it ends up landing in your hand.
Right.
So to do what I do, to host what we host, it's to allow ourselves to embrace one more day, or at least figure out what it is we want to embrace in that day. Not all of us have the ability or have it in us to really sit with ourselves and really take in the things that we have. I think it's really messed up to ask for one more thing when you don't, like, I'm going to bring it back to the game metaphor. It's stupid for you to ask for the PS5 when you haven't even played with your PS4 yet. I'm sure there's an exciting game on that, but what about, like, you've asked for the PS4. Why aren't you playing with the games that are offered to that console? You've asked for it. You got it. Play it. Play with that shit. Do it. Figure out what it's like to lose some games, win some games, appreciate the fuck out of this thing that you've asked for, and then get the next thing. Maybe you won't even want the next thing yet, or as soon as you thought you would.
Right.
Everyone lives different points of life differently. The point of me opening my doors is to open that conversation up. I do what I do. It feels like a transaction, but I don't think that it is. It does feel like that oftentimes. I open up myself to have conversations with others, so I have the ability to gain new perspective. I'm here to share perspective so I can have an alternative perspective. Share, exchange, converse. It's not a necessity for me because I appreciate the fuck out of everything that I have. But to entertain tomorrow and to entertain the fact that fortunately and unfortunately, God or whoever created people has granted you the existence of coexisting for no reason to you, but not you, but the general person that wants to rely on only what they perceive, on only this idea of being an introvert. If you're an introvert and you are not extrovert in some areas, I hate to make such a polarized statement, but you are not on the side of allowing others to coexist with you.
Right.
And that's very unfortunate for humanity itself, the growth of us as a species, as individuals, as
Right.
thinkers. You're not here to coexist, unfortunately. And what kind of society would that be? There's a lot of groups, there's a lot of cultures in society in this world today and in history itself that has refused this image of coexisting.
Right.
How do you feel about that? Think about that. You get to be here to coexist with others, to keep away from the idea of exercising coexistence. You're turning a blind eye to the very concept of coexisting, the term coexisting, its place that it has in society, in the universe. Yes, you can stay home. Yes, you don't have to, speak to another person, but know that your food's gonna run out. Know that that new flavor you wanted to experience only exists because of someone else. Conversation was required. Yes, it takes energy. Life itself takes energy. It takes us a lot of fucking energy to get out of bed every morning. Some folks, maybe not. But many folks, it kind of is. Why? Is because we dread the action, the physics of lifting ourselves up and doing something. It's an obligation. But mentioned earlier, when we first started this conversation, it's not an obligation. It's a granted opportunity. You got to have one more day. I think, going back even further to the opportunity of having tools, some people aren't meant to have access to what you offer. Some people aren't meant to have access to what God has offered. Life. I hate to say it, but I think it'd be nice to see 2 buttons presented to us every morning. The forever snooze. Or the I get to be here today button. It'd be nice to see a world of people that, gets to recognize the fact that they get to be here. Only then could we objectively choose to be here. And if you're dreading, well, maybe hit that forever snooze button. You either want to live or you don't want to live. Just say so. Today's an opportunity, a great ass opportunity. That's what I think. The idea of being an introvert, extrovert, the idea of having access to things, the idea of being allowed to be, or this idea of spending energy, what it means to put an effort to coexist. It all boils down to what you feel like you're going to allow for yourself. And I like to be strong on the word of allow. Because at the end of the day, it's going to trickle down to how you're going to acknowledge things. This idea of being granted and being given this gift of being able to be thankful, grateful, all of that, every bit of it boils down to how you see what you've been given.
Right.
It's all on the action of acknowledging, the action of allowing. That's what I think. To be 100% introvert is 100% not allowing. To be 99% introvert is to be 1% allowing, but 1% is subjective. So I'll let you do what you want with that. I consider myself, for the most part, introvert. During COVID, when I fell sick, I had no need to see a face. That was fine. That was cool. In fact, I think I flourished. My career, I think, accelerated being locked up. I didn't think I was locked up. I liked that time. But that time needs to be temporary in order for what I've reflected on, what I've acted on, to matter. because these things were meant to be shared.
Are your last words the same?
Yeah. I don't think it sounds good.
Sounds good. I like that.
Sounds good.
Mm.
Yeah. Do you want me to talk about that? Why I chose
I mean, that's
why
up
that
to you. You
matters?
can if you want.
I was given the opportunity to speak, the opportunity to exhale sound, whether or not it's a conversation that I appreciate or not appreciate or felt unnecessary. I was given the opportunity to have that. Whatever is expressed to me or allowed for me to put up to interpret. Exchange of audio with each other. Sounds good. Good sounds. Sounds good. Okay. I'll take that on.
That's good. I think that's even a good place to end it.
If you say so.
Hey, that sounds good. Before I keep hearing this beeping sound from this camera. That's Victor.
And this is Aaron.